It was a 60-day fasting challenge, and I lost a total of 80 pounds for that within 60 days. So a total of 180 pounds I've lost to date. Um,
Yes.
the 180 pounds that I released was less than 11 months.
Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today we have Matthew is back with us. Man, I was so looking forward to having you back on the show. You made a huge splash the first time that you came on. People loved your story, wanted to definitely see how you were doing, follow up with you. And for me personally, I'm always rooting for the guys. We don't have as many guys as we do, women on the show, holding it down. So I love to just catch up and see how things are going. So Matthew, thank you for sharing this time with us. Welcome back.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me back. I've been looking forward to come back.
For sure, man. Listen, you've been a integral part of the community ever since you came. Being able to share your story and inspire people. I was literally just talking to somebody who has a chance. Well, I was commenting with somebody in the under one of my videos about how people, when you share your story, people don't really realize this at first, but you're literally changing people's lives. You're saving lives. You come on, you're a genuine person, you're telling your story, the ups and downs, and people are motivated by that. And you never know, like somebody could literally be on the verge of killing themselves through obesity, and your story is the encouragement and the motivation they need to change. So um, this is incredible. I do want to give you an opportunity to briefly go through like maybe the first half of your story, right? Like just to do a little recap of what we discussed the first time to kind of bring us up to date, and then we'll take it from there and see what you've accomplished in the past couple of months.
All right. So, from what I last recall, the big headliner was I lost 100 pounds in 4 months. It was like 4 months to the day. But to do a quick recap from the first interview, my journey started. I wrote in my notebook January 15th, 2023. That was when I officially began my wellness journey, being really serious with it. Um, I just missed the first R72 that you guys did, so I hung in there and did the second one from February to March. And once I went through that, that helped me to get a lot better with doing extended fasting because I struggled with fasting for longer than 2 days. But the R72 helped me to make that a normal habit of fasting longer than 2 or 3 days. But
Mm.
then after that, we had the 21-day challenge that you guys had, and so I joined that for the first time. And it was right after that particular challenge that I did the first interview, and that was when I had realized that to the date I had lost, or I had released, 100 pounds. And
Mm.
so I had learned a lot about fasting. I learned a lot about my body. I learned a lot about your emotions and your thinking and your mind pattern. And because I was on the go with me all the way train to take care of my health and to get better, I decided to let me listen to what other people are saying and let me see if it's true. All you have to do is just try. Failure is when you don't try. So I made a lot of progress with changing my thinking. I mean, granted, I was used to making big, huge changes on a whim and just dealing with the consequences, but I slowly started to learn that you don't have to do that, and it's actually more damaging when you do that, especially towards your body.
Mm.
But one of the things that I had left with the last interview was I was really trying to focus on maintaining that new weight that I had achieved because I had never lived, at that particular weight. And just as a quick recap, as far as for the numbers go, officially this year, January, when I started taking notes of everything, I had logged my weight at 460 pounds.
Mm.
Now, I do believe that in the years prior, maybe within the last 3 to 4 years prior to this year, I wouldn't be surprised if my weight actually might have bumped up to maybe about 500. And if it happened to go over by a pound or two, that wouldn't surprise me, especially
Mm.
when I look back on some of the pictures that I had. But the journey started at 460. By April or May, we were down to 100 pounds. We were down to 360. For me, 360 was a weight I was kind of really familiar with as far as for when I wasn't yo-yoing going up and down. So that didn't feel spectacular to me because I knew what that felt like.
Mm.
But I was learning that your mindset is really important. Just because you can do something doesn't mean it's going to work for you the way that you think or the way that you want it to work. Sometimes you have to understand how things work in order to get the result you're looking for. And so I knew it was easy for me to put in hard work to, fast or to take pain and just deal with it. But afterwards, it's like, can you maintain it? Do you know how to even maintain it? So that was the major goal at the end of the first interview that I did was learn how to maintain the weight that I had achieved and give myself a good range, but stay within that range. And now I can bring you up to speed with from then up until now because that goal was knocked out of the park. Um, I was able to maintain that and then slowly come down a little bit more. But one of the things that I had to learn was how to deal with normal life day to day when you're not in a challenge, when you're not doing something, by the book or by the rules. So, so the good news is I hung in there with you guys with AHA, and every next challenge that you guys had coming out, I wanted to be a part of that. And it may not have always been necessarily for the challenge itself, but it's just like what we've been talking about in this community. It's so enriching when you can have just people available to just share, ideas, share similar thoughts and everything. It's really, really valuable.
Mm.
So so I managed to maintain my weight and hold on while we went into the JR 72 this summer. That was fun because I was still very new to juicing and everything. So I learned a lot about juicing, the difference between green juices and then your regular sweet juices. And I'm really appreciative of the prep work that you guys were able to give us going into the juice fast. And it was mainly that juice fasting is not mainly for losing weight. It's for cleansing and for other type of healing properties. So if you're losing weight, that's like one of those extra benefits.
Mm.
So I was able to reasonably manage my weight, but I learned along the way so I can understand why my weight fluctuated up or down depending on what I consumed. Um, and then right into the JR 72, I got a chance to come to my first AHA Wellness Retreat with you guys up in Tennessee. That
Yeah.
was that was worth it. That was worth it. I That was a decision I made on a whim at the last minute because I had heard about it, for months, and I was like, man, I don't know money to do nothing like that. I got to plan stuff like that. I got to plan leave and everything. But once I started changing my thinking, I started improving my health and not just liking the outcomes and the results that I was getting, but I was learning, and I mean, to be honest, who doesn't enjoy learning how to do something new or just taking in information to understand stuff? I'm learning so much about my body. I'm learning so much about how I can just change things just by my thought process, just by me thinking. And so I really had fun going to the retreat because I thought about it and I was like, well, it's real easy to fall into that pattern of I'll catch you guys next year. I'll really think about it next year, and for the most part, it never really happens when you do it that
Yeah.
way. So I was teaching myself stop being afraid of the unknown. Be willing to take a healthy risk if it is going to yield you the results that you want, not the results you think you're going to get, that you're supposed to get, but the results that you accept and agree that okay, those are the results that I'm looking for. So I'm willing to take that risk for that.
Mm.
And I got all that plus more at the retreat. So that was well worth the resources and the time for my mental well being as well as my health as well. But here's where the real juicy details come in because when we got back from that, we were finishing up the juice fast. And one of the um one of the mindsets that I share with other people is dream big and then scale down to reality. You dream big, there are no limits. The only limits is what you put on yourself. And then as you start seeing what you can actually achieve with what you have available, then you can start to customize it down to exactly what it needs to be for whatever you're trying to achieve. So me, I always like to tell myself if I'm going to have a logical thought for something that makes sense that I'm planning out, looking to the future, then I deserve to have a selfish interest that I can also ensure as a backup that it'll make me want to go ahead and do it. So for me, it was Usually, I look after my mom. We live in separate houses, but I figured it's you can take a vacation at least once a year. So I treat her to a vacation. Her type of vacation, our type of vacation is cruising. So we love to go on the Carnival cruise ships for vacation. And so we were going to go on a newer ship this year, which we just came back from last week. But it's in Miami, and so that means that we had to fly down there. In the past, we've driven down there, but I said, and she said, we don't want to drive. That's too too long of a. So I said, well, I know we have to fly, and at my weight, the beginning of this year, I told myself I'm really not interested in the embarrassment of
Mm,
trying to get on the airplane. That whole scenario, I'm not interested in that. But I know that we got to go to Miami. I got to make sure that Mama gets a vacation so she can enjoy herself and relax. I got some work I need to do. That was my selfish thought to help push me to get through and do the other things that I needed to do this year, just in case I was going to falter or fall back on the first goal that I had set. So we get to the beginning of September, and I'm like 3 months out before it's time for vacation. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, it would be nice if I can lose some more weight before I go on vacation. I mean, who doesn't want to lose more weight before they go on vacation?
right.
So I'm like, but how? I don't even know what's a reasonable thought process because I've learned I don't want to force my body to lose weight, especially if it's not going to keep pace with what I'm trying to put it through. And I says, well, of course, if I'm dreaming big and wishing it would be nice if I could lose another 100 pounds, but in 3 months, I'm not trying to push that, and I don't want to entertain that thought. So we're not going to think about that. So I took a day to just think about what I wanted to do, and then I had this weird random thought, and I was like, instead of worrying about what I want to do or what I can or can't do, I wonder what can my body do. And I've been working with, strengthening the connection between mind and body, listening to all those signals. It really is an amazing experience when you become more and more in tune with your body. All those
Yeah.
little signals, those feelings, sometimes memories and thoughts. It's amazing how real powerful it is. So a thought popped up, and I says, well, body, I mean, I don't know what you can do, but what if I gave you enough time and enough resources and just said, let me just see what you can do? And then I'll plan a couple of, fail safes in place. So in case it gets a little rough, then we can fall back and we don't have to worry about anything, terrible happening, passing out or something. And so I says, well, so far I've learned about rolling fast doing the R72. We just finished learning about the JR72, and we had a 21-day challenge. I was like, I fasted for 21 days with no food. So I was like, well, if I decide I want to do a fast for 60 days, I'm like, one, I've never done that before. I don't even know what it would feel like getting beyond 21 days. I says, but two, I have to be mindful of what a refeed looks like. I can't just come right off a fast and go straight to vacation. That's crazy. That's like setting yourself up for triple failure. So I
Right.
said, so I got 3 months. At least if I do something in 2 months, I can give myself at least 4 weeks to just either gradually or however I want to do it. I can have that time frame to just, worry about my refeed.
Mm,
So I says, well, I'm going to come up with my own personal fasting challenge. I learned a lot from Stephen. I've learned a lot from you, as well as a lot from other people in the community. And one of the things that I told myself was this is one of the benefits when you unlock your mind from the traditional thinking and you allow yourself to work with your body as well as work organically and work with what makes sense from what you've learned and from what you've understood so far. And I says, well, if I do a straight 60-day fast, pure water fasting is rough. I mean, you do just water, that's not an easy ride, especially depending on what your body dealing with. So I says, well, I was still dealing with gout flare ups, with my feet and everything. And it kind of still frustrated me because I had questions about the gout as far as like, why do I keep getting these flare ups? I'm not eating any of the meat. I'm not eating any of the stuff, and I haven't been eating any of the stuff that they say you shouldn't have. So I'm like, it's got to be something else. And I also noticed that every time I would fast longer than 3 or 4 days, I would slowly start to get those telltale symptoms of a flare up coming. So I
mm.
was like, it's got to be something with fasting because every time I do an extended fast, I get a flare. I'm expecting them now. So I says, well, what is it that I want to accomplish in these 60 days? Because we decided on 60. And I says, well, I want to learn about my gout. I want to learn about any other deficiencies that the fast, may uncover that I may have. but I need to have a fail-safe in place so that in case I hit some rough waters, it's not going to take me out because I have too many things playing where I can't go down. So I says, how about I do this? The first 2 weeks, I'll do a detox cleanse. So it'll be a water fast combined with taking the detox herbs, parasite and the detox cleanse. I'll do that for 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure by then, if I haven't had a gout flare up, I'm going to be getting one soon. And I wouldn't be surprised if I might be a little low on some resources just because, when you go through a cleanse with the detox, it does a good job of cleansing and moving things out. So I said, so the first 2 weeks, I do the detox cleanse. The next 2 weeks, I'll do a green juice fast. I had already done my own experiment with green juicing, and I don't really have that much of a sweet tongue anymore since I've made
Hmm.
all these food changes. I've always enjoyed, bitters and savory things, but well, if savory is sweet, then we can cancel it out. But bitter stuff, I'm fine with. Sometimes I get the words mixed up. But so I says, well, I know I can do a green juice fast, and technically it may break the fast, but I also learned that when you're fasting, especially when you're using different fasting therapies, it's not always about the therapy itself. It's about what are you trying to achieve? What is it
Hmm.
that you're trying to do so that you can use the best therapy or method to yield the maximum results for what you're trying to achieve?
Yep.
So my goal was to fast for 60 days. I want to have various fasting therapies, but I just want to fast. So for me, that just meant I'm not eating no food. I'm not chewing and chomping down on anything. So the second set of 2 weeks would be a straight green juice fast for 14 days. And then after that, the original plan was we'll go back on the detox teas for the beginning of month two for those 2 weeks, and the last 2 weeks we'll just do a straight pure water fast, maybe with some appetite suppressant tea if we wanted to. Well, that was a great original plan, but I'm glad I tucked in some extra options because life changes when things are happening.
Hmm.
And sure enough, by the time I hit my third and fourth week to start green juice fasting, I had another gout flare up, and it was bad. And it just so happened that I also had a doctor's appointment during the green juice fast. And surprisingly, it was the doctor's appointment that I had to make 6 months prior for to see a rheumatoid arthritis specialist for my gout.
Mm.
And that's when it was bad 6 months ago. And I thought it was crazy. I had to wait in line. I had to wait on a list for 6 months just for someone to just look at my foot and give me what their opinion is.
Yeah.
So I had forgot that I even set the date. But I had already learned by then that there's something in the green juices that really helps to not only knock out the gout flare up, but of course, because it has ginger and other herbs in there, it helps with all the inflammation and everything. So I went to the doctor. I had my green juice with me. They took what looked like 2 books of information because I gave them all the information they wanted. I told them I was fasting. I told them I was green juice fasting. I asked them that they want to know what was in it because one way or another, if they think it's going to help somebody or they can do something with it, they're going to find out what's in it anyway. So I figured if you want it, you can have it. But the gout flare up had started the previous day, so this was like day two of drinking green juice with the gout flare up. By day three, the very next day, it was the gout flare up was gone. And
Mm.
that day when I was at the doctor's office, I had my boot in my foot and I was limping. You just limping around. You could barely walk normal.
Yeah.
And then by the end of that day, going into the third day, still drinking my green juice, swelling was gone, pain was gone, the gout flare up, it was pretty much gone. Usually when I have a gout flare up, I might have what I call ghost aches that may last a couple of extra days. It's not really like anything's wrong, but it's almost like memory pain that you feel.
Mm. Yeah.
So I had memory pain for maybe about a few more days after that, but it was gone. Once it was
How
gone,
long do your flare ups usually last?
so the doctor was surprised when I told him this as well. I told him that whenever I get a flare up, if I'm not taking anything, this is before I knew what to take, it could last anywhere from the lowest was about 4 days, and this is no joke. The longest a flare up has lasted with varying levels of pain was almost a month. It was about almost 4.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
there would be some days it would be rough. I got my boot on, my body's adjusted to limping a certain way. And then you get a couple more days of it kind of calming down. And then there's some days your body has normalized to the pain. You know how to move, how not to move. But it was like, I'm like, yeah, still no relief. I'm still dealing with this. And at that time, I'm still waiting for pain medication to kick in. Like there was one time it took almost 4 or 5 days for the pain meds to kick in when it's supposed to kick in, within the first day.
Right.
And so I'm like, I don't know if I got, some stuff internally going on or whatever, but it's not working as fast as it's supposed to work. So I'm just going to deal with it like I've been dealing with it. But ever since I made the connection that there's something in the green juice that's working with the body to help it to heal, help it to address that current issue that's going on, I was like, when you find something good that's natural that you enjoy as well, why would you do something different? So I decided I'm going to stick with it. So stuck with it. And I made a list of questions that I wanted to find the answer to while I was doing this 60-day fasting challenge. And those questions gave me the motivation to keep fasting, to keep going day by day. Oh, and by the way, I have cats in case you see them jumping around.
Okay.
But so with the green juice, my question got answered when I finally was watching some other YouTube videos. Finally, was reading through some different, research documents that I found online and stumbled upon something that was talking about, the alkalinity in the body and everything. And for the most part, as far as for when I'm having a flare up, how it's affecting the pH levels and how that can, invite inflammation and other stuff to come in, especially if something that's not supposed to be there moves in and starts affecting it. So, so I was like, okay, well, I do know that everything I'm putting in the green juice is very alkalizing. And I already understand that for me, even when I was heavier, and a little bit now, but especially when I was heavier, there was a whole lot of extra metabolic activity going on inside of my body, and that just naturally creates to higher levels of it being, a bit more acidic or whatnot,
Mm,
compared to it being it was being produced and broken down at a much faster rate than my body could excrete and flush it out. So it was like it was just naturally building up with my larger size. So, but once I understood at least that the green juice helps, especially if there is a flare up coming up, I just stuck with that. So, so I made it through the 2 week juice fast. That was like a nice break. When you're doing water fasting, it's nice when you can have some juice.
yeah.
Um, so after the green juice fast, I started. Uh, I was supposed to do the detox teas for 2 more weeks, but that only lasted 2 days. By this point, when I started fasting after 30 days, my body slowly started turning into like this detox machine. It was like
Mm,
any and everything that it was processing in the body, it was just detox it out, detox it out. And what I mean by that is my body started becoming sensitive to everything. And then on top of that, more things, more problems internally were being uncovered slowly. And
mm,
so as they become uncovered, you feel it a little bit more, especially stuff that you're not used to feeling. And things that I dealt with years ago that I thought had went away had came back. Several years ago when I was originally really sick, I suffered really badly from nausea, and that's just so draining and so it's horrible dealing with nausea. And so I was sick the first few days of doing the detox teas blend again. And I was like, well, I'm not going to drink that. And then I also said, well, let me try out some other supplements because I know that as I'm going through this fast, I'm losing weight, but I noticed that my skin was getting just a bit more like it could use a bit more hydration, a bit more TLC. Um, by the way, I think that I have recorded that by the time I got to day 33, I think that was when I had released another 50 pounds. So
what?
yeah, so because I know I'm going to forget and come back to it. Let me give you the big numbers now. So for that fast, it was a 60-day fasting challenge, and I lost a total of 80 pounds for that within 60 days.
Wow.
Um, the first 30 days, we were right under 50. I was just going to track how long it took before I had released 50 pounds. So I think it was
Mm,
about day 33 was when we had released 50 pounds. So at that point, we were already down total 150 pounds that we had released
right.
that. And that was maybe like at the end of September, beginning of October when I had recorded that. Um, so in addition to losing that weight, so a total of 180 pounds I've lost to date.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so a total of 180 pounds I lost. What I experienced was really wild especially during after the first week that I started, the next month was really weird. It felt as though I experienced several shrink weeks. The
Mm.
first week I the first week I shedded probably almost 20 pounds the first week. I knew why I had shed a little bit of extra pounds. Sometimes we know what we're doing before we start a fast, even if we're trying to do stuff. But so I
Sure.
understood why I lost that much. But the week the weeks following that, it was very strange how the scale worked. It went from these not these nice numbers of like 3 or 4 to down to like just two, maybe 1.5. Maybe one day was really like, "Ooh, what happened this day?" It was three, and it was like just two. It slowly just went down. So it's just like it leveled out, and it was like about 2.5 pounds a day. And then the next week, it went down to two, maybe 1.5, and then towards the end of that week, just one. For me, I wasn't really pressed or worried about how fast or slow it was going. I understood the body's going to adjust and do things, but when
Mhm.
you're just seeing those numbers, like you see it consistently almost about the same, and then it just goes down a little bit and it stays the same. It's like, wow, I just really wonder what's going on inside.
Mhm.
Like, what
Yeah.
is the body doing when it's like all these little micro changes, and you see like a little jump, and then it goes back to that.
Mhm.
And then eventually it went down to the next 2 weeks after that. I didn't lose anything. And the funny thing about that is it's like there's this pattern of like every 7 or 8 days, there's this type of cycle the body goes through, especially when you're fasting. And the most interesting thing was it went down to there was no weight virtually lost in a week. Like, say, for instance, the beginning of this week might say zero point 0.5, you've lost. And then the
Mhm.
next day they say zero point 0.3. And then the next 2 days, it won't say you've lost anything. And then it kind of just, just levels out. And then by the end of the week, it's like, well, I hardly lost anything. And then I got to a point where naturally I got a little worried, but then I told myself, chill and just let the body do what it's doing. You don't have any alarms going off, so just chill. And what bothered me was I started putting on weight, and it was
Mhm.
like instead of it not going down and it not moving at all of a sudden, like the next day, it was like I had gained a pound. And I was like, I gained a pound. I was like, okay, well maybe I didn't go to the bathroom. I don't know. I mean, it's just a day. Sometimes
Yeah.
the body realizes within a few days. And then the next day it said I had gained half a pound. And then the next day after that, it said zero point 0.7. And I says, wait a minute now. This is like 3 days in a row. I'm putting weight on. What am I putting on? I'm like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Says, well, let me just chill out. And by this time, I had finally managed to get one of my close friends to kind of get on her wellness, horse, get back on and resume her journey with fasting. And so I was sharing information with her, and she was like, something must be wrong. You gaining weight? Are you okay? Are you sick? And I said, no, I'm not sick. I said, but I mean, I don't feel like anything's wrong, so I'll just wait it out. And in that one week, I think I put on about 5 or 6 pounds. And then surprisingly, the next week, all of a sudden, it was a quick little drop. Like when you're used to not seeing it move, when you
Yeah.
see it go from like, yeah, you gain like zero point 0.2 today, and then the next day it says like I've lost zero point 0.7, you be like, that's a big number when you get used to seeing hardly nothing. And
Right.
I was like, whoa, I said, what's going on? And then all of a sudden it was like consistently losing again. And I said, I'm glad I calmed down
Yeah.
and waited and just listen to the body and let the body do exactly what I agreed we would do. I will give you time and resources and let you drive and let you produce the results that you feel we need. And
Mhm.
I'm glad I did that. And after that, I didn't really worry about the weight anymore. And what was really nice to see was I was just seeing the numbers just slowly just go down and go down. And I started it at around 360, 350, and then it just came on down, came on down. And once we hit below 300, I says, well, that was a goal that I forgot to, make myself remember to remind myself about. I says, we're under 300. I was like, now that right there, come on, man. We hadn't even thought about that while we were
Right.
doing this fast. I says that's an extra big bonus. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just smile at that and keep that in my back pocket. And so I says, whatever happens at this point, I just want to see if I can make it to the end of the fast. And once I took a break from taking the detox teas, I says, well, let me go ahead and just stick with water fasting. And I also wanted to try out a couple of different supplements that, Root had. I was thinking about, I had got the one for the collagen. And then also, I think I had got the one that was kind of like the vitamin C supplement. I said, I would like to get some of that. And so that was when I was learning how sensitive my body was when you're almost, I think by this point, we were like, what, 40 or 45 days into the fast. And
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, yeah, my body's extra sensitive. It didn't like anything extra that I put in there. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
bruh, I'm tired of waking up in the morning and then my stomach is already upset. And then I'm trying to get some water in. And then I would like to take a supplement. And I put that supplement in, and virtually it's like less than 10 minutes later, you get real in tune with the signals your body send. Like most people don't pay any attention to a flush of, like a heat rush that they get. There's different
Mm-hmm.
signals your body send. I had already prepared myself for what was possibly going to happen. I said, I'm just see if I can hold on. I'm not going to think about it too much. But when I felt that rush, I said, this is going to be a rough morning. And the next 4 days was rough. And I was like, okay, I'm taking every little chance I get to rest because you ain't hardly got no energy. You're just trying to stick with the water, maybe have a little bit of tea here and there. I said, let me just hold on, just go day by day. And I picked that up from somebody else in the community. They was like, I figured if I can't make it to 7 days, can I make it to two? Okay, I did the two. Can I make it to three? And that lines up with my mentality about goals. My
Yeah.
my saying is set stupid, easy goals that you know that you can just do with your eyes
Mm-hmm.
closed and stack them and then go from there. So I said, let me
Mm-hmm.
just do day by day. And finally I got to the point where I was like, yo, I'm like, this is like the last 2 weeks. Those previous 2 weeks were so rough. And I was asking myself, why was it so rough? It was like I didn't have the desire to fast anymore. And I was telling somebody that, and somebody in the community had said, maybe it sounds like you didn't have any motivation. Like, did you achieve what you were trying to achieve already? And I thought about it, and I said, well, I says I did. I says everything that I wanted to achieve during the fast, I did. We released enough weight. We were under 300 pounds. By then, I had found my secret for how I can deal with gout flare-ups and how to keep them at bay. And then I learned more about my digestive system. I learned more about my thinking. I had been changing my thinking. This whole thing with make your reality what you want, and then just don't limit yourself. I love it. I love it to death. And it's I mean, how many people get to say they get to have fun enjoying life? It's
Right.
like every day I make my day work for me. I make my day fun for me. If I don't have a smile on my face, I ask myself why, and I smile because it's like, yeah, I can smile, and it makes me happy. But anywho, before I forget again, since I ramble, so I got to reflect and realize I accomplished everything that I agreed to accomplish while I was on this fast. And I didn't have anything else pushing me. And so I said,
Mm.
that's a problem because I got 2 more weeks to go. I need some type of motivation. What am I going to do? And so I says, well, let's just see if we can set a personal best goal and let's keep listening to the body and let's just focus on what else the body's doing. And this is when it got a little rough because this is the part that I shared a little bit of TMI in the first interview, and it's not going to be like TMI, but the topic of it. I am going to jump ahead a little bit. My goal was for 60 days. By the time me and my body got to day 56, my body very, very mildly told me, you've done enough. We can go ahead and finish the fast.
Mm.
The the fail safes that I had in place, the flags to go off in case X, Y, and Z happen, they happened. And I set a very specific red flag for myself. Because I told myself, when you're fasting for a long period of time, dude, is it easy to get a head rush? Every time you get up, you needed to take your
Yeah.
time and breathe. You will knock yourself out if you do not pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to that. And I told myself, sometimes when you black out, you don't remember what happened. You may remember it later, but you be like, I don't know what happened. So I set a red flag for myself. If anything ever happens and I felt like I don't remember something, or if I'm like, how did I get that? I was like, that's a red flag. We need to sit down and do a mental check. So I had that. Day 56, it was rough. And let me tell you why it was rough. The week prior, I realized that out of the 56 days that I fasted, Chris, there was only about maybe 4 or 5 days that I did not go to the bathroom.
Oh wow.
Dude, I'm talking like almost 50 days every single day I'm going to the bathroom, and it's not just one time, it's multiple times. So
Wow.
that helped me to appreciate whatever's coming out needs to come out. I'm just happy
Mm.
the body is able to get it out. But man, that was a lot of going. Because I got so used to going, when I did not go, I was a little concerned. I was like, I mean, are you empty or what's going on? Do I
Mm.
feel like we're constipated? And what I did was I said, well, let me do a quick Epsom salt flush. That way I can just see if a laxative is what I need. The laxative worked, but I have a feeling that plus some other things that I'm almost think I'm close to piecing together. Boy, that stirred up some stuff that I think was sleep or that was further down below that
Yeah.
kind of got stirred up, and I had bad gas. Now I say gas because we're used to hearing things like gas, bloat, and cramping, but not gas like flatulence, not gas like that, like bloat and cramping,
Uh,
kind of cramping and bloat that causes
mm,
nausea and stuff like that. It was rough, and for
mm,
me, nausea it is very draining for me. It takes me out of it. So I managed to get through a week of that, and I was like, dude, it's been a week, and I have 1 week to go, but this stuff is I don't know what got stirred up, but it's rough and it's making life really difficult for me. So when I was at work, thankfully it was quiet, no one was around. I had an incident in the restroom where I almost blacked out.
mm.
And I almost forgot that I had almost blacked out, and I remembered, and I says, "We need to go into the little private room real quick. It's time." I said that was a red flag, so we went there, and I sat down, and I had the type of bloating and nausea where, depending on how you're positioned and moving, it pressures on certain pressure points inside,
Yeah.
so it can make the nausea really really bad. Like you just don't know what's going to happen. And so I says, I don't know if I can do this anymore, body. Is there any reason why we need to keep fasting? I can't keep anything down. I'm very weak. I'm tired. And here's a funny thing. Let me back up maybe about to day 40. Around day 40, I had this strangest sensation, Chris. I was walking around just like this. I just want to chew something like I was like, I just want to chew something because I'm like, I haven't had anything in my mouth to eat, nothing to chew. I'm like, it's the weirdest thing. It's like my mouth just wants to chew.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, we learned something new. So I says, well, okay, that was fun. But I was talking to my body and I was listening to how my body was feeling. And I had this nice, mild, peaceful sensation go over me. And it was like, we can stop. We've done enough. We've achieved what we wanted plus more. We can go ahead and end it. So it was at 56 days that I ended it. And what I appreciate about my thinking mentality now is I don't think of that as a failure. A lot of people see 60-day fasting challenge. You didn't hit 60 days? Oh, I didn't need to hit 60 days.
Mm,
Me and my body both agreed what we did in those 56 days was enough. It
mm.
wasn't it was a challenge for myself. Yes, I did make a challenge for myself, but that wasn't the requirement to complete the challenge. It was what I'm able to achieve within that time frame, and we achieved a lot. We achieved a lot. That why I ended that fast around at the very end of October, that first week of November, and here's the strange thing about it. I knew what my protocol was for refeeding. The refeeding protocol was for at least the first week, stick to your liquid, stick to some nice, easy juices you can consume, get things slowly back into gear. Then
Mhm.
we can maybe throw in some nice juicy fruits so we can see how we feel with digesting some solids. But that didn't work out that way. And I don't mean that in a bad way. The day that I ended my fast, I called out sick from work. I went and told my manager and the other manager, I says, I am unwell and I need to go home. And my manager looked at me and says, I was waiting, wondering when you were going to leave. And you've been looking like death for the last week. And I was like,
Yeah.
I know. That's why I told some of y'all I'm gonna look a certain way. Don't be getting worried. I'm fine until X, Y, and Z happens. So I went home, and because I was already weak and still in pain, I went ahead and ordered me some nice hydrating fruit. So meet me at the house when I get there. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and start with some watermelons. Let me just, juice some watermelon. But I had this real quiet but nagging thought in the back of my mind. And in the back of my mind, it kept saying, do we really have to juice it? Why can't you just eat the fruit? And I kept telling that nagging thought, dude, you're not going to get me. No. By the time I got home, I opened the fruit, cut the watermelon open, had the juicer ready, and I'm looking at it and I'm having the conversation. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Just have a small little piece and just see what happens. I realized that I wasn't giving my body enough credit for what it was ready to do. I'm gonna fast forward here and tell you, we ate two watermelons that day, and
Two.
yeah, man, we ate two watermelons that day. We didn't juice it. We ate it. We ate it over the span of the day, so I was
Uh-huh.
happy about that. But here's the thing: I had no. Now let me put the disclaimer out there. I'm not saying that what I did, people can go ahead and do that. You can go ahead and fast for all this time and then just eat what. I'm not saying that. I was
Mhm.
very, very specific about how I did it and waiting to see how I felt before I had some more.
Right.
But the first 3 days we did good eating watermelon and cucumber, and your taste buds are on fire because everything's fully reset. You got like a fully blown clean palate.
Right.
Everything tastes amazing, everything
Yeah.
tastes awesome. But I
Yeah.
made sure that if I was going to move, if I was going to jump ahead and have, some solid fresh fruits instead of the juice, I made sure I was going to stick to what types of foods I would have as I progressed. So I stuck for the first few days. I stuck with my hydrating fruits, my hydrating veggies. Then I slowly moved into a little bit of leafy greens, some lettuce, maybe some spinach and some spring mix, and then kind of just progressed on from there. My body was a lot more stronger than what I thought it was going to be as far as for ready to go ahead and digest some things. But one of the things that I realized was I uncovered something that was already there or something that progressively got a little bit worse. And that's like kind of what I'm working on now. I don't know if you've heard of SIBO, a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, but essentially those guys in our gut microbiome that's usually in the large colon, usually when something happens, which can vary, some of them can move up and colonize inside of the small intestine
Mhm.
where they don't belong. So essentially, food that normally doesn't get, started to get digested a certain way until it gets to the large colon, it's being touched, by people, or sooner than before it needs to. But
Gotcha.
anywho, so I got through my 56 days of fasting, and we were down to the lowest was 277. And I told myself, since that was 277, I'm going to put the base at 280. I give myself a plus or minus 10. So anywhere between 270, 280, and 290, that's my range that I want to maintain.
Mhm.
The good news is that was back in at the end of October.
Mhm.
Now we are in December. I've managed to maintain that weight very well within
Yeah.
that fluctuating range.
Mhm.
And the bonus news about this is, of course, I finished the fasting time and my refeeding time to go on vacation. Mom
Yeah.
and I just got back from vacation last Sunday night. So it's been almost a week since we've been home. And though I know that I probably should have waited, as soon as I got home late Sunday night, I was like, I just want to hop on the scale just so I can see what the number is. I don't care if it's high or anything. I just want to see what it is. Then I can
Yeah.
go to sleep and wake up and see if it's something different. I got on that scale, and from what I remember it saying before I left, because I don't, me personally, I give myself times when I need to record things, when I need to have things recorded for me, and then I give myself periods of time where I want to just enjoy things organically, and that means that
Mhm.
I can actually remember certain numbers, especially if I'm in a nice flow with it. So I wasn't really worried too much about what the numbers were before vacation. I just knew I wanted to maintain what I was doing. So when I got back home and hopped on that scale, that joint said I was 10 pounds lighter than when I had left. And I said,
What?
yeah, I said, who does that? Who goes on vacation and comes home having lost more weight than when you started? And it was not just any type of vacation. We were on a 7-day cruise
Cruise.
vacation, all types of foods and everything there.
Mhm.
Now, I had two challenges for myself when I went on vacation. By then, I had already done some extra food experiments with my newfound issues to figure out what my tolerances and intolerances were. And I'm glad I did that before vacation because, boy, did I have some painful food experiments that I had to deal with. But
Yeah.
I learned what I needed to know because I would rather do that at home versus in the middle of the ocean on a
Yeah.
boat. So when I was on from the moment we left, well, I mean, from the moment we left and came back, I didn't have any interest in any sodas, so no sodas. That was off the list anyway. Diet sodas from my prior history has been
Yeah.
a normal part of my life because you learn diet soda. That way you don't have the real sugar, but then you learn it's just as bad as even worse, but in a different way with the diet stuff. So I didn't want any diet sodas. We had the drink package, so I do enjoy my nice, fine wines for dinner and everything, and maybe a couple of, drinks, throughout the day. So I was already fine with those particular, limits. But when it came to food, I told myself I'm not going to naturally deprive myself if I'm on vacation and I want to have it. If I want to have
Mhm.
it, I'll allow myself to have it. That's my decision to make. So yeah, I enjoyed meat while I was on the cruise. We went to the steakhouse the first night, and so it had a big old steak. Did I finish the steak? No. Did I feel bad that I didn't finish it? A little bit, but I told myself I enjoyed it. But what I also wanted to do was to be able to naturally, as best as I felt, make healthy decisions without feeling like, oh, I had too much of that. Oh, I just ate it because it was on my plate. And that goal, I knocked that one out of the water because whatever I didn't want to eat, I didn't eat. If I didn't
Mhm.
think that that was going to make me feel a certain way in a negative way later on, I didn't have it. At this point, one of the things that I cannot have right now are certain vegetables cooked and certain vegetables raw. So I'm limited in certain things right now, but I know what I have and what I'm working on. But on the cruise ship, I had all my stuff with me. So in case a bad scenario happened, I had a quick remedy for it. It was just for that week. But I ate what I wanted. I enjoyed what I wanted. I didn't eat as much as I used to eat because I just couldn't do that anymore. But was
Right.
I still like full after what I had? Yeah. I think there was one day I was like, I feel like having a burger. Let me go to Guy's Burger and let me get a double burger. I'll put my own fixings and toppings on it. And yeah, I was stuffed after I had that double burger. But I was happy and satisfied. But I also had my root products with me. So every day I made sure I started my day with a nice good zero in. And especially depending on what dinner was like the night before, because dinner was probably when I might have had more things that I wouldn't usually have. Restore is one of my several best friends. So every
Mhm.
morning that was the morning concoction. Have me a sachet of Restore and a zero in, the way I can go ahead and get my morning started.
Mhm.
Especially because with Mama, where she has breakfast. I'm not used to eating breakfast, so I told myself a week before, get used to eating a little bit earlier because you're going to be eating breakfast with her, so you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
But there was at least 2 days I got to fast, and I didn't have no breakfast. And probably about the first time I got to eat, it was maybe like around one day it was like around 2 o'clock. Another day was earlier. I think it was maybe like around 11:30 or 12 o'clock. For me, for us people who are used to fasting and not eating in the morning, that's no biggie. But when you're used to eat, when you got to switch and eat, when I didn't
Yeah.
have to eat, I was like, oh, this is the best feeling in the world right now. I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want anything to eat. I don't need anything to eat. Just no, I'm good. I'm good. I was like real happy and everything. But anywho, came back home and I was very, very proud of myself and of what we were able to do together. I mean, we
Mm.
enjoyed ourselves. We didn't deprive ourselves. I will tell you this one thing. I was super excited to find out that they did have vegan options. Now, I know from my own personal experience, vegan isn't everything because a lot of vegan stuff is just junk replacements, just not with
Mhm.
me. So I said, but I still want to just try it out. And so the one funny story I would tell you is I guess I was like one of those sights to see on one C day brunch. I told my mom, "You go ahead and order your food. I'm gonna ask them for the vegan menu so I can just test it out, have my little fun, and so I can know what I like and what I don't like because I know some of that stuff I'm not gonna like." And the
Right.
guy says, "Well, it's gonna take a little bit longer because we have to cook it on, in a separate kitchen for it's vegan." I said, "Well, good. I'm happy to hear that."
Yeah.
They brought out. I had like 2 tables full of foods because I didn't order every single thing they had on the vegan menu, but I ordered a lot of sauces. I want to know what the vegan bacon tastes like, what the vegan sausage tastes like, what this frit over here tastes like. I just want to know what they taste like. And what I didn't know was there was like at least two couples two different couples at two different tables behind us. My back was to them, and they was watching me the whole time. And it happened very similar to this. My mom was across from me. She was, finishing up her food, and she knows I mumble and talk out loud when I'm thinking. And it happened just like this. Okay, I'm gonna put this here, put that there. I'm gonna try this and try this. What I don't like, it goes over here, that goes over there. And I had the fork and the spoon in my hand, and I just went to town, and I just tasted a little bit of that, tasted it. Okay, that's a maybe. Tasted this. I was like, ugh, I don't like that. Put that over there, move it over there. Then it was like, okay, now it's time for round two. Well, who do we have left? Okay, let's see how that looks. Does that look like something I'm gonna eat every day? Do I like that? How does that smell? What is that inside of there? And then I saw my mom look up behind me, and I said, "What's wrong?" And she says, "Oh, nothing." And then the lady behind me, she says, "We're just looking at you laughing like you ordered the whole menu, and you within 5 minutes, half of them are like pushed to the side, and you're like, nope, I don't want that. I don't want that. I like this. I like that. Thank you." I said, "Well, I'm happy I was able to entertain you." But so yes, I had fun trying a little vegan menu. Would I do it again? No, because it wasn't as good as just regular plant based stuff. If I just eat, the fruits and the veggies that way. But
Yeah.
to try out, it was good. But yeah, so came back home, doing really good. I have my new things that I need to work on with my health, but the good news is I have everything under control. I have my research done. I have my things documented. I'm already in the midst of my next food experiment, so just waiting for a couple more things to come in so I can kind of get that going. But I told myself January 15th, 2024 will officially be a year since I have technically officially started my health and wellness journey. And
Hmm.
the first major goal, I have different tier levels for goals. So a major goal is like one is like way up here, like one of those top of the mountain goals. My first top of the mountain goal was let me just see if I can just lose 200 pounds first, and then we can worry about all the other stuff. And so I told myself, we've still got about, I mean, roughly, honestly, we still have about like maybe like 20 pounds to go before
Hmm.
we're at that official 200 pounds lost. But here's another thing for numbers: the 180 pounds that I released was less than 11 months. Um, because it wasn't January 15th to November
Right.
15th. It was like right before November. So I made sure I told myself that was 180 pounds released, less than 11 months. And we're
Hmm.
still working on doing more. But for the most part, let me look at my notes because I know I wrote it down because I was going to forget. I think I shared all of the major stuff that I wanted to share. Oh, a quick update on some nice health benefits. Um, I know I mentioned during my first interview that after the 21-day challenge, I healed all of my allergies. For me, I've always been a person since I was a kid that I was allergic to all of the pollen from all the different types of plants outside, and allergic to the pet dander from all different types of animals. And then it makes it worse when there's dust and stuff inside of the
Hmm.
home. Um, I ensured that I had got off my allergy medicine, and then through the detoxing process, cleansed those things out of my body so that they weren't irritating or responding that way with those different types of natural things for the most part. But of course, during the subsequent months, because I'm experimenting and still learning how to, maintain it in my consistency level, some of them came back. So, of course, during the 60-day fasting challenge that I did, we managed to heal that too. So, at least since the end of October, from what I can remember, no more allergies again. All healed up. I don't have no problem with the animals been all in my face. I have no problem with the pollen or anything. And in fact, right when we were shifting from that summer to the fall season, where a lot of people, and I was used to be one of those people, when those seasons change, your allergies just get real out of
Hmm.
whack. I forgot all about it, and I think I was also in the middle of doing the fast, so there was so many people around me, and I was like, everybody is. It's like everybody keeps saying like their allergies and they got the headaches and with the eyes and then with the nasal, and then all of a sudden I was like, and then a voice went up and it was like, why you keep acting like you didn't used to have allergies? And I was like, I was like, yeah, I didn't think. I was like, oh, I was like, well, I ain't got none. I healed mine.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't heal theirs, but that's a whole nother. Anywho. But so yeah, so the scale this morning said 284. I'm still within my range, so I don't care what the number is. But 284
Hmm.
is great for me. I feel good. I'm still making good progress. I'm very, very happy that I've been able to learn and actually experience maintaining this weight. I mean, I have not gone over the 290 mark. I mean, I might go over a little bit. I ain't worrying about it too much, but it normalizes. I
Yeah.
know why the weight fluctuates, and then I give my body enough time to deal with it. So I'll be taking a sip instead of swinging this around.
Yeah, sure.
But okay, so I know you've heard me babble on for a good long minute, but that's it for my updates. I shared my update from last interview up until now, more of the weight loss, my personal fasting challenge, life on vacation and after vacation, maintaining weight loss and losing weight while on vacation. Yeah, I think we're up to speed.
Yeah. Whew, man, that was incredible, man. I was just taking it all in. And, I love, first, let me say, I love how you have started nourishing this relationship with your body. Um, like, people might think you, because you kept saying we, and people probably think, who's the we? It's you and your body, right? You guys are a dynamic duo. Yeah. And the reason why that is the case is because, like you mentioned throughout your story, your body's going to send you signals. You feel this way, you feel that way. You even set up, different checkpoints for yourself throughout the fast to make sure that, you were taking care of your body, and like it was a true partnership. And it's important for people to do that. It really is, because when you look at it that way, when you have that perspective of me and my body, then you don't just push those signals to the side like you typically would and be like, oh, whatever. It'd be like one of your best friends or even your wife or husband being like, hey, I'm not getting what I need over here. Like, I think it's hurting our friendship or it's hurting our relationship. And you being like, so what? You know what I mean? So now, with you kind of separating yourself from your body, it's like, hey, I could use a little bit more water. I could use a little bit more hydration. You're like, okay, cool. Would that be good for our relationship? Yeah, I think that would help build that bond, right?
It
Um,
worked just like that. It do.
Absolutely. I did have a question because I wanted to make sure, when you were talking about going to the doctor for the gout
Yeah.
checkup, was there anything significant that the doctor either shared with you, or, anything came out of that?
So a few things. So one, the doctor, if you ask him personally, he doesn't think that it's gout, and he thinks that it's something else that's inside of my body in a different part of my body that's just
Mm,
connected to it. Like, say, for instance, he had me screened for several different types of STIs or STDs, whatever they call them these days.
mhm,
And he explained to me, because of course my eyebrow went up, and I was like, "Why am I getting blood work for these type of things that I'm pretty sure I don't have?" And he says, "Well, there are some things that you can be infected with that can have certain types of effects on different parts or different areas of the body depending on where it is." And then he wondered if I had any problems with my hips, and he was talking about there being some type of, virus or something that can, be in the hips that can connect down to the bones that way. One of the reasons why I chose to listen to him and hear him out is because I have, well, I've had bad experience. I've had a bad experience with, getting, a virus, in my bone. Because when I was a kid, I was very clumsy, and I had the unfortunate mishap of cutting my foot very badly on a dirty piece of glass, only to find out a couple of weeks later I could barely walk, and they found out that there was some type of virus that I had caught.
mm.
And the virus literally affected the bones in my legs and in my feet. So when I was a kid, I lost the arch in my foot and became
Wow.
flat, and as a kid, that meant that I had to learn how to walk all over again. So I had to go to
Mm,
therapy for that. It was very painful to go from that arch to it being just flat and the foot spreading out when you walk. Had to wear a
mm,
leg brace. And then that was just the beginning of it, because what slowly started happening over the years was the virus started affecting the bone in my right leg.
right.
I'm already naturally bow legged, but what the virus did in my right leg was it made the leg bow out even more. So when people are bow-legged, they have like their little sway, their little mini limp when they walk. But mine was like deep. It was like you would see that big old deep sway, and it almost
Hmm.
looked like it looked like it felt uncomfortable because eventually my mom or other people would ask me like, does it hurt when you walk? Because it looks uncomfortable the way it looks when when you go up and down. It didn't hurt me, but it wasn't good. So that led
Right.
to surgeries, and 10 years later, of all the stuff being done, the surgery that I got, it did what it needed to do. So it helped me to be able to walk and everything. But anywho, yeah. So the doctor thought it might have been something like that. All those tests came back negative, and he decided to explain to me what a true flare up was and how long they typically last. And he says, when you have a true gout flare up, typically you feel it when it's happening, and within 24 hours it peaks, and that's it. Once it reaches its peak point, it's supposed to drop off. He says, but you're telling me that your peak may take days for it to hit, and it may stay there, and then you don't get no relief for a long time unless you're like doped up on the pain meds. And I said, that's
Mm.
exactly you know in my experience. And he says, well, technically speaking, that's not really what how gout flavors are supposed to work. And in my mind, I'm just thinking, well, that's how it is in the pharmaceutical medical industry. You guys always say this is how it's supposed to work. That's not supposed to happen. That's because of what y'all say is supposed to happen and not supposed to happen. I was like, I'm just going to listen to you with a grain of salt because I'm not really here for that. I came here to see if I could get some extra information that could help me. But I did make it clear because, of course, he wanted to push pills. They have
Mm.
pills for everything. He wanted to push pills for the
Mm.
pain. Then he wanted to push pills to help with the high uric acid levels and everything. And so I told him from the outset before, he sent me to do the blood work. I said, as far as pain meds, I don't like to have to use medication, but for pain meds, when it gets really bad and I'm in an emergency, I will use the pain medication. It fits a role for something that I need. But as
Right.
far as for the medication that you take that alters different natural functions in your body to achieve what they say the drugs are supposed to achieve, that I'm not comfortable with taking because I'm not interested in having something that's going to alter my natural body composition, especially if what my body is doing is just what it feels is necessary for it to do to
Hmm.
maintain what we're doing. I don't want to mess with that because who knows what other side effects come from that. So,
Right.
of course I left. Test results came back, and we're communicating on a little online doctor thing, sending messages back and forth. And he's like, your uric acid levels are really high. I really think we should get you on, the pain meds. At least start this other one. And so I told him, I says, well, just so you know, because this was like a week later. I said, just so you know, I'm going to stick to using my green juices. My green juices, literally the next day after I left your office, my foot was fine again, as if nothing was wrong, and I've been drinking the green juice ever since. So I'm going to stick with my green juice for my natural remedy for if I do have a flare up again. I will keep the pain meds in the safe, so in case I have an emergency, they're there when I need it.
Hmm.
I says, but as far as that other medication, I'm going to decline and say no, thank you to that one. So he was fine with that. I didn't care whether he was fine with it or not, but I'm with it. But that pretty much is what came of that. I think I had a follow up appointment before we went on vacation, but I was so busy before I went on vacation, I forgot all about it. But I haven't heard nothing
Okay.
from since. But yeah,
Okay.
that was all that really came out of that. The most I got was he gave me my pain meds.
Okay. I mean, that's good information though. Maybe help somebody else as well.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if the work that you've done in yourself maybe causes it to look a little different than what he's used to, but also, typically we think more intense pain or
Mhm.
longer lasting that would be worse. I know that when it comes to other types of issues, fasting will bring that stuff out. And I think I mentioned before, like when I used to have heart palpitations,
Yeah.
and it was over the course of 10 years, it was getting progressively worse. And then I started fasting, and it got really bad. You know what I mean? Throughout all the fasting I was doing, similar to what you're saying, you would get these flare ups when you fast, and then of course over a period of time, then it just went away, right? Like the body, because like the actual issue itself, whether it's a gout flare up, the heart palpitations, or whatever, that is a detox symptom,
True.
typically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you're basically giving the body the ability to detox heavier, longer, which doesn't feel good, but then eventually have you so if you look at your year holistically as it relates to gout, not if we just exclude the instances where you fast and you get the flare ups, have you seen a reduction in your overall gout flare ups?
I'll put it this way. Before I did a lot more fasting where I would get the flare ups more consistently, the only times that I really would get flare ups was when my diet was wrong. Meaning,
Oh.
and I did a food experiment to test this out. Earlier in the year, I did a food experiment with fast food. I said, let me go to Checkers. Let me just try out a basic meal. 2.5 days later, I got a gout flare up. So I made that a teacher moment. Those type of foods, stay away from. Once I got through that food experiment, as far as for what foods were an immediate trigger, mainly the processed foods and refined sugars and everything,
Hmm.
I said, okay, we can make those changes. We can leave those alone. We're not going to do that. So once I made that connection between the foods that would trigger and I left it alone, I didn't really have any gout flare ups. But what made it felt like such a longer journey was because it lasted for such a long time. Because
Mm.
last year I had a small batch of pain meds, and I wasn't going to go back to the doctor because I was trying to not rely on it. So I went a long time without any pain meds, and I was dealing with it, and so it lasted a lot longer with it just lasting for like almost 2 weeks sometimes. And then I was like, well, someone gave me a nice reminder: you have health insurance, you pay for it, take care of yourself. So I says, fine, let me go do something. But besides that, with the food connection, the only time after I made that adjustment that I would get the flare ups would be when I would do an extended fast. And the answer that I found out, which helped me to, at least from my perspective, to understand what was going on, is that because I was such a bigger person, like I mentioned before, there was a lot more metabolic activity going on inside. So things were building up much more faster than I could get them out. Once I
Mm.
understood that, that allowed my mind to relax a little bit. And it's very interesting how no, it's not interesting. I've been training myself to actively and intentionally not even think about saying I can't believe anything that we used to say. Oh, that's not possible. I didn't think that was possible. I can't believe I did this. Or I still can't believe I lost this much weight. That's putting a limit on myself. I don't want to limit
Mm.
on myself. Why would I want to limit myself? So I tell myself, no, I can believe it. If I can think it and I can dream it, then yeah, I'm pretty sure it can be a reality. So I told myself if I can make myself angry by thinking about it. If I can increase my body temperature with enough focus, if I'm communicating the right way with my body to do that, whether it's breathing or thinking, then that means that I can also affect how I feel. Just like when someone receives, some grief-stricken news, all of a sudden they can just, their face goes pale, they get real icy cold, or they faint and pass out. It's like we have the ability to manufacture and create all these different type of chemical reactions, like all the different pharmaceutical stuff that they say for oxytocin and all that stuff like that. Our bodies naturally produce that, just depending on what type of chemical reaction it's doing. So I told myself that since I understand a little bit more about why I'm getting these flare ups when I'm doing extended fast, I can allow my mind to relax enough and communicate more direct with my body to help it to realize I know I can't make the pain go away, but I know we can dull it. I know we can at least lessen it a little bit. I'm not trying to take it away from what you're doing and what we have to deal with, but I know that we can communicate and we can, soften the blow that we're going to be dealing
Mhm.
with. And when I tell you it's true, you can do it, you can do it. Because what I was able to do was instead of being in this excruciating pain, there were some days where either it was almost like it was muted, it was still there, but it was muted where it didn't bother me, or it was tolerable. And then
Mm.
I noticed that there were different days where if my thinking was off, your thinking really matters. Positivity, joy, negativity, they have their certain unique times for them. But you got to get the flow right, that way you can get what you're looking for. I
Mm.
realized there were some days my thinking was off, I wasn't focused, and I felt it more. And I was like, I said, that's a nice learning moment right there. Remember how you felt and you didn't get what you thought you were going to get? Hey, you can change that. So,
Mm.
But yeah, so once I made that mind connection, it made it easier for me to deal with the flare ups when it happened. But hey, I tell you just like this. Um, I'm trying to think that I was the last flare up I had at the doctor's. I think that was the last flare up that I had. It no, I take that back. I had another flare up during the last 2 weeks of the fast. I told myself I was going to stick to the plan. I wasn't going to do another green juice fast. I want to stick to it. And in the community, I can't remember if it was you or Shell, or maybe it might have been you guys collaborating. I don't know. But there was a post about something about lemon juice. I know I had known about the power of lemon juice for a while, but some stuff I hadn't just tested on my own with just straight lemon juice. So when I got the flare up happening again, I says, well, let me try let me see if I can have extra lemon in my water because I couldn't do the pure water fast. And so I would have, fresh squeezed lemon juice in my water, every morning when I have my water. But
Mm.
so I says, well, I'm going to take 2 whole lemons. I'm going to juice them and I'm going to add that to 64 ounces of water since I get, two of those a day to get my gallon in. So I did that. 2 days later, it was gone. I didn't even
Mm.
need the green juice. All I needed was just some extra lemon juice. Like,
Mm.
granted, my water was a bit tart, so I was like, after
Right.
this, I take a break my body can, can heal a little bit. It can be a little acidic, but
Yeah.
the gout flare up just went
God.
away. So I was like, all right, now we want something else. Now I got some extra stuff. I can do some research on some specific things to figure out what does that do? Where does that come from? How does that work with the body? But but yeah, it has been another amazing journey. The journey, of course, is still going on, but we're just doing this in waves. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just finished one wave. We're getting ready to build another one. But it's been amazing what I have been able to do with my body. I mean, I'm just now getting to the point where how I see myself physically actually starts to line up with how other people physically see me. Because I mentioned it
God.
before in the last interview. When you're a certain size for so long, that's all you see. And even after I had lost 100 pounds, an extra 50 pounds after that, and then another, 30 pounds, it wasn't until maybe about a month ago that I just started feeling comfortable, with actually, that's me when I look in the mirror. And by the way, I gotta say one thing. I think you mentioned this in one of the recent lives that you did. I had to watch a replay. It might have been the one where it was you and Steven on it. This one, I don't know if it was a AHA After Dark. It might have been an AHA After Dark. I don't know.
Yeah.
but but anywho, one of you guys said something about, I don't know if it might have been Steven, but who you were at the beginning, when you were at your worst, when you were at your heaviest. Not only are you not that person now, especially with the changes that you've made, whoever you are making these changes, but essentially you've killed that person back there. That person is not there anymore. And at first my
Mm-hmm.
ears perked up when I heard the word kill. I was like, what? And then I thought about it and I was like, I've already told myself I'm never going back to what that was
Yep.
before. And this is the reason why I'm not going back. Yeah, I did. I did get rid of that person. That person is gone. I'm a
Mm.
completely new person, inside and out, mental and with the body. We are a new person, and not in the sense that we were reborn, or not in the sense of all of a sudden I'm a new creation in this world. No, this is this is me. What was on me before was something that should have never been there. That was a very bad layer that was on me that I
Mm.
finally shed it. It's dead.
Yeah.
It's not coming back. And now, as I get more used to being the size that I am and working on the size that I want to be, I have no interest or desire in playing fire with those things that make it so easy to just go back and just yo-yo. Like the is more than just, ooh, I like how it tastes. I don't like how it tastes. I'm talking about processed food, stuff that is pre-made and everything. I do like the raw lifestyle, but I have some work to do before my body can fully get there, which we're working on. But with all that being said, the things that I have been able to accomplish just by thinking it and following through with it, not
Mm-hmm.
only is it phenomenal, but I have so much fun in slowly helping other people. One of the things that's a normal part of my personality now, I do not intentionally allow people to talk bad about themselves. And one of the ways that I do that is the moment I hear somebody say something, well, you know me, I'm so stupid. I'll just say, I never said that. I mean, if you want to say that about yourself, that's up to you. But I never said that. It sounds like I'm muttering some words, but it makes them, because when they play it back in their head, what they thought they heard me say, they're also playing back what they heard themselves say about themselves. So it's like,
Yeah.
and I have one person at work. She's slowly starting to not say negative things about herself because
Mm.
like she said, "Well, you know, man, I'm so stupid. I don't know that." And last week I says, "You're only stupid if you say you're stupid. I never said you were stupid." But
Mm.
it's small little things like that that just slowly get the little gear just turning. You just need a little crank, a little
Yeah.
crank. Eventually, you get enough crank to the person just they just push, even if they don't know they push. And it's like, hey, I did that, and it's like I've been waiting for you. It's like I've been waiting till you get there, and that's how I feel with one of my friends who's now doing on her fasting journey. I mean, she'll probably chew me out. I'm not going to share her name or anything, but I was frustrated at her. I'm gonna share this last part, and then I'll be done. I know. I promise I'll be done. I was frustrated with my friend earlier this year because I know her, she knows me. She's been struggling, and I don't like to see my friends struggle. So you're familiar with it, Chris. You have information, you know it works, you share it, and you do it in a way that's not going to push, not going to make anyone do, but everyone has their own pace. And so you just
Hmm.
check in every now and then. You give a couple of pieces of advice, see how they're doing. And I think it was I think it was right when I was almost finished during my 60-day fast that she was like, she pretty much was like, okay, let's do something. And so what I did was, which I thought was real fun and make it nice and easy. I says, how about we just have a mock consultation, just so we can just chat and just see what's currently going on, and then we can just come up with maybe a possible solution you can try just to get
Mm.
started. And it took off from there. And so she's joined the community. She may not be as active in the community, but she's in the community. She sees the posts. She sees when there's lives that she can join. I think she joined the R72. Man, we've been so busy this year, not just me, but y'all too. I keep forgetting that we just did the R72 and then we went right into the 21 day right now,
Went
right?
right into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so she joined for the R72 because of course I'm going to join the challenge regardless, so I joined anyway. So she joined and I was like, "What? You're really going to join?" She was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it." She did that. She went in and bought her teas. She's still working on it. She's making good progress. But
Mm.
my joy is when I see people heal themselves and they feel good about what
Yeah.
they healed. It puts such a big smile of satisfaction on my face when I can see somebody who knew they were struggling, who knew they had issues, and they knew that they had that thought that if I don't do something, I'm not going to keep going the way that I'm going. It's not going to be good.
Hmm.
You reach a limit. And then when you see that they make the changes, and it's extra rewarding when they just look so super like, I can't believe this happened. I was like, oh my goodness, this looks so good. And I didn't have no problem with it. Or like when she says she had to have a little gathering at her house and there was going to be dishes and meals and everything, and she was fasting, then the R72, I'm over here thinking like, man, she probably going to be struggling. Let me check on her. And you hear from her to the next day, and she was like, she said, I did pretty good. The food didn't bother me at all. I had my water. And then the next day it was a refeed day. So surprisingly, I was good. And I was like, yo, that's like winning a marathon right there.
Yeah, that's major.
Do you realize how important and amazing that is? The big
Yeah.
accomplishment. But yeah, so she's doing good. So I'm probably going to check on her this weekend since I'm still catching up with everybody and getting back from vacation and whatnot. But that was the last little piece that I wanted to share. It's nice when you get to see other people, especially people who also enjoy good health for themselves.
Yeah. Listen, man, I gotta say the last thing I really wanted to say before we wrapped up was when it came to your vacation, because this is big. And I actually I think I did a video about this back in 19, maybe it was the end of 19, because I went on vacation with my friends and and it was a cruise. And I talked about how you can go into these situations with a game plan.
Hmm.
You had your products, you had your root products, your teas, whatever you needed. You knew exactly what environment you were putting yourself into. Up until that point, you had learned so many tools, and it's like people will be like, "Oh, I'm going on vacation. I'm gonna just wait. I'm gonna do something after I get off vacation." It's like use the tools you've learned up until this point to not only be able to be like, okay, I'm gonna do the vacation, enjoy yourself, not overindulge, but also give yourself some tools in case things get a little wonky.
Mhm.
um, I think that, that is, I just wanted to highlight that because so many people will either completely cancel an engagement
Mhm.
or say, I can't do this engagement because I'm fasting. But there is a happy medium, I think, a lot of times. And it takes a little bit of intention
Mhm.
and, working things out. Just be intentional, but you could do it. And this kind of goes back to what you said earlier about just whatever you can conceive, whatever you can think, you can do. Like, you are the only person that puts limits on yourself. So if you want to go on a cruise, enjoy yourself, right, without restriction, and also lose 10 pounds, I mean, clearly you can do
You
it.
can. You can do it.
You can do it. So yeah, man, this has been incredible. Like, when it comes to the amount of weight you've lost and the impact that you've had on your life, I mean, your pace is really incredible. I mean, your pace, you're not even at a year yet. You're talking about, potentially hitting 200 pounds in a year, plus all of the other non-scale victories, the relationship with your body, helping your friends and family. You've got a lot of work done in 2023. And I mean, you should be definitely over the moon for what you've accomplished. And it's a launch pad, right? Because 2024, now you've got this completely different platform to spring from. So, I mean, who knows what you're going to achieve in 2024, but it's been a pleasure. I'll say that, being able to interact with you, see your journey. Obviously, I loved that you came to the retreat. We had a few men come to the retreat,
Yeah.
and once again, always happy to see the men come. And then to see you continue to progress. Like, you don't I, I don't know if you're at that level yet, because when you start helping your friends and family, you'll see them see a little progress or maybe a lot of progress, and then they kind of slide backwards. But to see someone continue to move forward is just amazing. And that's no pressure, right? You are allowed to take a step back. You are allowed to have those learning experiences, because
Yeah.
that's really what they are, right? In a journey. Um, I saw this experiment that this person did where they took two like metal balls,
Mhm.
similar size and shape and everything, right? And they put them on ramps at the same time. They're on these ramps. One ramp is just a steady decline at like a 45-degree angle, right? It's just straight down to the bottom of the ramp. The other ramp has ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
So they let the balls go at the exact same time. And what you quickly notice is the ball that has the ups and downs is actually progressing faster than the ball that has that steady decline.
Yeah.
And what that says to me is you actually get to the end of your goals or to a certain destination faster with the ups and downs than you would if you just had that steady decrease. So we should embrace those ups and downs and learn from them, and they will help to propel us forward. So thank you, man, so much for sharing your journey and being a part. You already know, like, the door is open. I'd love to have you back. I think I want to do a live stream with you next time,
Okay.
and maybe give people an opportunity to ask their own questions as they
Yeah,
get a
I
chance
would
to
love that.
see, yeah, both of your videos. I don't remember if I told you on camera, but before we kind of started, I was like, man, you look incredible.
Oh yeah. Thank
So yeah, seriously. I mean, and you said it right. Like, the person that you were before, that person is gone because that was a layer on top of your true self. And being able to see and interact with your true self is a blessing. And I look forward to you peeling back those layers more and more. So, uh,
you. Yeah,
did
there's
you?
gonna be more. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you? I know you're active in our community, AHA communities. So if people want to like reach out or connect with you, is that the best way to kind of
Yes,
talk to
yeah,
you?
that'll be the best way, and most people they usually do it that way too. And then I usually try to stay active in doing posts the way because some people are fine with private messaging, some people not quite as fine with it. They're more comfortable if it's like you're in the community, so that's fine. But as you and I were talking before, I do IT for a living, so I don't have too much of a presence on any social media at all. I mean, the closest is me watching YouTube videos, but other than that, no, I don't really have anything. But
Okay.
AHA communities, that's the best way to reach out. But I mean, other than that, I'm going to keep you guys posted. I was just telling somebody today, I already have my vision. I've already visualized where I want to be at the end of 2024. So, at like
Yeah.
a year from now, I've already visualized where I want to be by that time, what
Mhm.
I would like to look like, what I want to have accomplished, what I need to have on my list to have already been
Mhm.
working on. The wonderful thing about the mind is the more you become more comfortable with connecting with it, you can. This one last thing before I go. My sense of time has changed. The way I experience time now, it's
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone's going to be able to understand this, but it's not linear. It's not even like
Mhm.
3D. I mean, it's like you learn depending on what you are doing in that particular time period and what you need that time for. It's like it dictates how slow or how fast time goes. I mean, it's like there are so many times where I feel like weeks or years have gone by just by what I'm intensely thinking about or what I'm processing in my mind. And it's like you blink and you come up and it's like it's only been a few minutes, and I'm like, huh? I'm like my mind feels like it's something out of Inception or whatnot. But anywho,
Yeah.
the point is, you become connected in that way. Time is something that you almost learn to take control of.
Mhm. Yep. Listen, we're on the same wavelength, man. I this is something I realized a while ago about time. It is not what we think, and I was at the time I was hearing a lot of people say time is a human construct, and as I'm experiencing through this wellness journey, I'm experiencing how time warps, and I'm realizing they're right. It sounds silly at first,
It does,
but
everything that
then
sounds silly is true.
yeah, right. Yeah, like you really if you start to look into the intricacies of what is being said cuz you think to yourself, well time has to exist. We age, right? That's
Mhm,
a way that we measure time is you age. But the reality is we don't actually age, we mature. You have a period of time where you mature, and then after that you stop maturing, and then after that what we consider age is really sickness,
mhm,
the signs of the wrinkling, the loss of memory, the hair thinning, you know what I mean, the weakness. If you look at a sapling, oak tree or something like that, a little sapling, it's very weak and flimsy, right? As a sapling. But as it gets older, it gets stronger and denser.
mhm,
That's the same way we should be. We should actually get stronger and denser, more resilient with time. So
mhm,
the only reason why we are aging and getting sick the way we are is because we're not eating well, we're disconnected from nature, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so yeah, time is not what we all have been tricked into thinking, and it's cool that you came up with that. Like you're understanding that. Um, Listen, I appreciate everybody for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you have not already. And I want you guys, for those who have either been in the AHA communities or maybe you're new, if you're inspired by Matthew's journey, hop in the AHA communities, create a post. Hey, just saw Matthew's video, his interview, his journey. You know what I mean? And just shout him out, man. Like just say, hey, thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey. Because I think that we need to do that. You encourage them, they encourage you. It is a self-perpetuating synergy that we have,
mhm.
and you know what I mean. I'm here for it all day, every day, twice on the weekends. My name's Chris James. The application of knowledge is power. We're going to see you guys next time.